And she said, your note, when I read your note in my purse, she just said, I can't believe that somebody would care enough to do something like that.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate, here. This is the place to find inspiring stories of world-changing women and girls every single week. We have a new, unique story coming your way every single week, so make sure that you subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com to find all of our podcast episodes. Please watch our Emmy-nominated documentaries. Donate to our nonprofit organization to help us continue our critical work to elevate women's voices and their stories, and so much more. Go to onegirlrevolution.com today. On today's episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, I welcome Maria Castro, founder of Love Purse. Maria founded Love Purse in March of 2021, right in the thick of the pandemic. And over the past few years, they have collected and donated over 10,000 purses for women in need. And it's not just a purse, it's more than that. It can sometimes hold our most precious items, photos, makeup, nail file, IDs, cash, pain relievers, keys. We all remember the first purse we got and what it represented. Something important that we needed every time we walked out the door, and losing it meant part of losing you. It's kind of like losing a piece of yourself, and having to leave it behind, absolutely devastating. Love Purse collects new purses filled with all kinds of goodies to deliver to women in need. Feminine products, deodorant, soap, body lotion, hand sanitizers, toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, lip balm, nail file, shower slippers, socks, face masks, a comb, a brush, full-size shampoo and conditioner, face cloth, compact mirror, chocolates, mints, so many things. Everything that a woman possibly needs, and most importantly, a note of inspiration, a love note, which makes Love Purse. Love Purse has raised up a revolution, and I'm so excited to share this incredible story and mission with you. Here's my conversation with Maria. Maria, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you on to talk about Love Purse and all of the incredible work that you're doing around the world. But before we get into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about you, a little bit about your story. I love the evolution of the person, and I'm a firm believer that we're always becoming who we were created to be. And so I would love to rewind and hear about a little bit about who you are and where you're from, and just a little bit about your story.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. So I am 65 years old. I am a mother of two incredible young men who are now, one's a dad and one is just a husband with a dog. I have 5 grandchildren, ages from 19, 17, and then down, 7, 5, and 3. I have an incredible husband of 46 years. Yes, 46. And I work for Comcast 9 to 5. It's the external affairs team, community investment team. That's what we do, is we are really entrenched in the communities that we serve. And that's kind of how this whole evolution of Love Purse came, is because of the work that I do for Comcast 9 to 5. I've met some incredible nonprofit partners that have really been instrumental in making me make the decision to actually veer off and of course, with the few hours that I have left in the day, to start my own nonprofit.
What were you doing before Comcast, or what led you on that journey to Comcast?
Thank you. So I am an event planner, corporate events, and I worked for an event company for many years. I worked in the retail industry doing events as well. I'm an author 4 times over. Written a couple of books in conjunction with Today's Inspired Latinas, Volume 5, Today's Inspired Leader, Volume 1, Hispanic Stars Rising, The New Face of Power, the inaugural edition of that, and a book called Kindness. And I say that to say that, my intent was never to be an author, to do any of these kinds of things. But I think in life, sometimes, you choose a mission and sometimes a mission chooses you. And in many cases, it chose me. I didn't plan on being an author. A very dear friend of mine, Jacqueline Camacho Ruiz, started this Today's Inspired Latinas many years ago and came to me and said, I love your story. I'd love for you to be a part of this, trilogy of books that I have. And I wasn't really prepared to do that. But as the years went by and we ran into each other again, she approached me about it again and said, you really have a great story. I would love for you to tell the story. And God knows that it has been the ride of my life. I have had the pleasure of writing these books along with some incredible women. I have even had the privilege, because of that, to speak at the New York Times during Hispanic Heritage Month about 5 years ago. And I can tell you that you're never really prepared for a moment like that until you get there. And I was so prepared and then unprepared because I did get laryngitis the day of, but I still spoke and I talked about the importance of family and of traditions. And, my dad was a migrant worker and he worked really hard to become a printer eventually and open his own printing shop and things, but, put us through private school and taught us the value of working hard and really accomplishing things, not at a small level, but in a big level, in a big way. Right. And so to me, I had that privilege and I was given that opportunity. And I always say that when you have a seat at the table, you bring 5 chairs with you because you have to be able to lift so many people with you because that's how you were lifted as well. And in any case, I have worked really hard. I have been, instrumental in trying to help people in my community, especially here in Chicago. I have a seat at the table. And so I don't take that lightly. And I make sure that I get funding into my Latino communities and that I help in any way that I can to make sure that I leave a legacy for my kids, for my grandkids, because they see that to me, the price of having freedom here and the price that you pay to be here on this earth is through community service. You have to be able to do that in order for the communities to grow, to prosper, and to have new people, the new generation of Latinos and Latinas that are coming up, to have a seat, to have a voice for that voiceless person. And it's super important to me. That is exactly what I've always wanted to do and I'm doing. So whether it was in the, event industry, when I worked with the community events back in the day in the retail industry, I started the whole trend of let's do mall workers clubs. Let's do, community investment clubs. Let's do this, let's do that. And that was at a time when that wasn't really a big thing. There was really not anybody doing that sort of thing. And so I'm really excited about, the fact that it brought me to the retail industry, brought me to the, to the cable industry, which I knew nothing about at the time, but I was given the opportunity. And to this day, 18 years later that I've been with Comcast, I feel as though it has really opened even more doors for me, which has opened more doors for other people as well.
We have such a responsibility, like you said, when we're sitting at the table to elevate other voices, other stories. That's what this podcast is all about. And I know in each individual woman that we have on this podcast, it's not just one, which I know you're going to talk about with regards to Love Purse. There are so many others, there are so many people that have come before us, like you talking about your dad, your father, and we have a responsibility to continue the legacy of our ancestors, of our parents, our grandparents, of the people that have come before us, but also to elevate the voices of the up and coming generation. And I know you have that with your grandchildren too, is like creating this path for them to write their own legacy too.
Absolutely. And, when you think about your legacy, when you think about your kids and your grandkids, in my case, my 2 older grandchildren lost their mom, over 12 years ago. And so that taught us such a valuable lesson in my household, because never in a million years did we ever think, that they being so young would have to be without their mom. And so, my husband and I are their second parents. We helped my son raise them, and we helped him to make sure that they weren't in need of that motherly love that they, as children needed so much. Right. So my new 3 babies, they have their mom and things, but my older 2, 19 and 17 now, they grew up with a tremendous amount of love in this household, because we knew that, it's not that a dad isn't important, but a mom, is really the conduit to everything. And that's when I think about Love Purse, that's what I think of when I think about, putting love on the shoulders of women in need is what I say. It is so important because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy in your household. It's just an impossibility. And that mom, from kissing a boo-boo to, you know, if they have a fever, making sure that they're okay, waking up in the middle of the night if there's a nightmare. I mean, all of those things, not that a dad doesn't and can't do them, but it's so different for a mom. And so when I talk about Love Person, I talk about the importance of these women who have been, thrown into unfortunate situations and are in shelters and things. That purse, it really reinforces the fact that they are somebody, that they are important, that they are enough, and that this too shall pass, because it is really meant for them to know that somebody's out there praying for them, rooting for them, making sure that they see these notes of inspiration, letting them know that, hey, we're here for you. You're not alone. And that's what really, I think, excites me every day when I hear a story from a, agency that tells me they gave 20 purses away, or whether, I've given 100 purses to one of the migrant, camps here in Chicago. I know that is going to be so important when they open that purse, not only with the content in it, but the note, in whatever language, whether it's in the Ukraine or in Turkey or in Canada or in Mexico. We translate the notes to make sure that these women read them and that they feel the love that comes out of them.
How did the idea for Love Purse get started? I know that you're doing so many things, Maria, and I don't know how you do it all every single day. And then on top of that, you have this idea to start Love Purse. Tell me about that spark moment, or what led to you starting Love Purse.
Yeah, so it was during pandemic. One of my partners through Comcast, a Safe Haven, my dear friend Nellie Vasquez Rowland had contacted me. We were talking, and she's a very dear friend of mine. And I asked her, hey, what's going on? Because I knew she was being hit really hard. All the shelters were, during pandemic, because people were, especially in the service industry, were losing jobs. Women were really tied down and locked down with their abusers 24/7 now. It was becoming, a critical situation. So they were running to the closest homeless shelters and domestic violence shelters and trafficking shelters. I mean, she and I talked about it, and she said, we used to be able to share industrial size shampoos and conditioners and lotions, and CDC guidelines don't allow us to do that anymore. Is there any way that you can reach out to your network? I'm reaching out to a bunch of people and saying, hey, can you get us toiletries? So I basically just said, you know what, send me the list of what you need. I will go out and purchase some myself. And then I will put it out there on social media so that my followers and my friends and everybody can see what's going on. I mean, we all know, not that anybody was oblivious to it, because we all were watching the news. We were all hearing from family, friends, neighbors, that all these things were happening in our very own communities. And so I basically bought 8 of everything that she had on the list. And as I bought everything, I came home, I spread it out on the bed, I was sorting things out, putting it back in the plastics and things. And it just dawned on me. I thought, I don't want to give a woman this plastic bag from the dollar store, which is where I bought everything. I just felt like that would be so insensitive and that it would send the wrong message. Even though it was the things that they needed, the toiletries, it was just the feeling that I had personally. And I told my husband about it. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to buy some purses. And he's like, you just bought all this stuff. I go, I know, but I'm going to look on Amazon. I'm going to see if maybe they have like purses for under $20, And so I looked on Amazon, and of course, there was a huge amount of like clearance purses and stuff, big purses that I needed. And I ordered 8. They came the very next day, of course, because of Amazon Prime. And I was so excited to start putting everything in these purses. I just felt this overwhelming feeling. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. And I had a couple of note cards sitting on my desk, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great for me just to write this person a note and just say, you matter, like, you're beautiful, you're enough. And, God bless you. This too shall pass. I wrote everything, put it in the purses. And as I looked at them, I told my husband, I'm so excited. I go, these are all little love purses. And I go, oh my God. I go, that's what they are. They're love purses. So I was like beside myself with excitement. And I ran to my local guy here a few blocks away. And I said, can you make me one t-shirt that just says hashtag, like love purse on it? And he's like, sure, what's it for? I go, I don't know. It's like a campaign I'm starting. And he's like, okay. So he, donated it to me. It was only one t-shirt and one thing. So I basically took pictures with all the purses in my arms. I told my husband, take a picture of me quick. And I started posting it on social media during the month of Women's History Month in March of 2021. And I started challenging all my friends. I started saying, anybody that knows Nancy and who loves her like I do, and how great she is and how much she gives back, please give back in honor of her a purse for a safe haven to a woman in need. And people started giving. And then the next day it was the next person. And so for 31 days, I basically challenged everybody that I highlighted, their friends and their colleagues and their network. And it just kept going. And my friend Nellie called me like daily and said, got 4 more purses, got 10 more purses, got 3 more. It was like the floodgates open. It was like something I had never experienced. And I've worked in this, industry for so long. And I have so many friends who work in nonprofit. And they all told me the same thing. They're like, holy guacamole. Like, what in the world? I go, I know. I don't know what happened. So then I started getting calls from other friends and saying, hey, I sit on the board of, Mutual Ground in Aurora. And hey, I sit on the board for, the organization in Elgin and this one and that one. And, the woman in Canada reached out to me and saw it on social media, a friend of hers. And can I do it in Canada and Ontario? And I mean, I was just flabbergasted, to say the least, that it had just taken this immediate response to people wanting to help. And I wasn't even a 501c3. So I was on Fox News here locally, and a gentleman reached out to me and said, I have 3 daughters. I just saw your interview and I would love to help you. And I said, great, here's, you can donate, whatever. And he said, sure, I'll donate some money. And I thought, great, he's probably going to send me $25 or $50, right? So I was really excited. He sent me $1,000. And I felt so compelled to not only go out and buy everything right away, but to take photos of the receipts, take photos of the purses, take photos of the content and send it to him, because I thought, he doesn't know me from Adam. He can, for all he knows, I might be vacationing somewhere, right? So I took pictures of everything and I emailed him, and his response was really funny, because he said, Maria Castro, I think this is great, but I don't want to know how the cheese is made. I just wanted to donate the money. So go ahead and use it for gas for your car or whatever you need to do, but please don't send me any more photos. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. But right after that, I realized I started getting money coming in crazy. And I thought, I can't give anybody a receipt. This is ridiculous. And so a very dear friend of mine, that's very well-to-do, Miss Jennifer, contacted me and said, I see what you're doing and you need to become a nonprofit. And I said, I really don't have the means right now to hire attorneys and do all that kind of stuff. And she said, no, I'm telling you this because that's going to be my gift to you. I'm paying for your attorney fees, everything. So $7,000 later, she picked up the tab, and I'm ever so grateful to her, because, I didn't have the means to do that. And it certainly would have taken me long to do it on my own, but they took care of it really quickly. I became a 501c3. And, after that, I was able to give people, receipts and stuff like that. So, but, there's always an angel out there somewhere. They don't have visible wings, but they're flying around you.
They are. And I feel like they always come when you need them the most, right? She's been in your circle, and then here she comes to save the day. Donate to One Girl Revolution's nonprofit organization to help us continue our work. highlighting inspiring women and girls that are changing the world through their lives, promoting their work and their organizations, and building a powerful and positive force out in the world, dedicated to empowering women, their voices, and their stories. Donate at onegirlrevolution.com/donate. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com/donate. What I love so much about your story, Maria, and really why I wanted to have you on this podcast is it's so simple, right? Like you started this and anybody can do it. And you didn't even seek out starting a nonprofit. You weren't like, hey, I have this really big idea. And it also speaks to the power of social media, right? It's so important for us to share. And sometimes I feel like we think like, oh, I don't want to share this because I don't want to feel like, I don't want people to think that I'm showing off. But what you did is you shared it and it then had this ripple effect where people were like, oh, I could do that. I can buy a purse. I can buy 8 things and put them in a purse. And we all need to be doing that. If you have an idea or you're volunteering, share, because it encourages people. It encourages other people. And what we saw with the pandemic is we all felt helpless in a way where it was there's so much need, right? There's so many needs going on. And we weren't even seeing, we were only seeing what we were seeing on the news or who we were talking to. And you tapped into, you know, women in shelters, women who were coming out of abusive situations or they were stuck in abusive situations and simple things like feminine products. I know that a lot of shelters were really struggling keeping those in stock for the women that were in their shelters.
Yeah. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, I mean, I had a woman here in the village where I live at, and she had reached out to me and said, I don't have much money, but I can give you 2 bottles of shampoo, but that's all I have. And I said, listen, please don't feel as though that's insignificant, because those 2 bottles will last a woman in a shelter for at least 2 months to wash her hair. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not matter on how much you can give me. It's what you give me. You can give me 1 bottle, you can give me 10. But the fact of the matter is that somebody needs that bottle. And if it's one person, you know, it's like the starfish story, right? It's the little boy walking on the ocean and saving all these starfish by throwing them back into the ocean when the gentleman stops him and says, what are you doing? And he said, I'm saving the starfish. And he said, that's impossible. There's thousands of them. You'll never be able to save them all. And he said, yeah, but it'll make a difference to the one I just threw in, right? And that's where I feel, you know, to me, it's like, I wish I could help every single woman out there. And I know that I can't, but it's the few that I do that make such a difference, because one day, and I believe this, that they will pay it forward, that they will have remembered that somebody cared about them and did something like that for them. And they in turn will turn around and hopefully do it for somebody else in need. And that's what really is the bottom line. It's just an act of kindness. You know, it doesn't have to be enormous to make a difference. It could be the smallest of gestures, you know, but an act of kindness is an act of kindness, no matter how big or small. So I say that we all have T times 3s, and those are time, talents, and treasures. Those time, talents, and treasures need to be shared daily, regardless of how big or how small. You know, we all have it. We have time, which is one of the most valuable assets out there for somebody who needs a smile, for somebody who needs $1 that's behind you and can't, you know, complete for their order. I mean, the janitor, who might have had a bad day because somebody spilled something and he just cleaned it and now he's got to clean it again. You know what I mean? It's like these little things that we have in our possession that cost us nothing can be given away every day. T times 3.
I love that. I love that. And it's so important for all of us to do that every single day and to recognize those things within us. I also love that it's a purse too that you give, because I've been thinking recently, sometimes I'll go someplace and I'm like, why did I even bring a purse? Like, it's almost like this like therapeutic thing, or like how little kids carry around their stuffed animal. And it's like, sometimes I feel like I just grab a purse because it's like a comfort thing. And then also you can fit all kinds of stuff in it. Like I love being a woman and having a purse where it's like,
I know.
Oh, you need chapstick, you need a tissue, you need a whatever. You need a snack. I have it in my purse.
Yeah.
And so it's so important.
I say it's not just a purse, though. It has so much significance. My mom, for instance, she's 91 and she carries her rosary in her purse and she says her rosary twice a day. If she were to lose that purse or have to leave it behind, she would be mortified because that is hers. It's a personal item of hers. And even with me, like my grandkids make me little trinkets and I keep them in my purse. And, I have great pictures of my mom and dad before my dad passed and things like that. I mean, a purse is not just a purse. I mean, it's just not. And I think that when people realize how important this purse is to the person that we're gifting it to, it becomes so much more relevant because then they realize like, oh my gosh, if I lost my purse, like all the stuff I have in it, not just money, but the things that you have in it, those are yours. And to have to leave it behind or, have it stolen or lose it or whatever, it's terrifying because now you got to start all over again, and you need that purse. And so I love when women like, I have the list on my website, right, of everything that goes in the purse. But women are so hilarious because they will put 10 times more stuff in it and you can't even close the purse because they're like, oh, well, I love this kind of lotion and I love this chocolate and I love this, nail polish. And so even though those aren't things that have to be in it, they stuff them with it. And so a lot of times there's purses where I feel bad because like one will have like 80 things in it and one will have 20 things in it. And I'm like, let me try and move a little bit around. Right. But it's just women get excited about this. They're having Prosecco parties in their home and doing all kinds of fun things with this purse.
So I know that some women throw all kinds of other stuff in there, but what are the usual things that you make sure that every purse has?
Absolutely. It's so important to have the main things, which is, deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, feminine hygiene products, shower slippers and washcloths and all the things that they need to stay clean. When they're in a shelter, they don't get those things. Like they come there empty-handed. And so the things that belong to them personally are those things that are in that purse. And again, it's all of those things that make a woman feel clean and feel refreshed again and just, feel really good about herself because, for no other reason or no fault of her own, I should say, they end up at this shelter. And if the shelter is lucky enough to have all those things to give them, great. But usually they don't. There's too many people to serve and the money that the shelters get is not unlimited. So therefore they count on people to donate. They count on people for things like that. And I think at the end of the day, that purse then not only helps them with all the toiletries, but now they have a purse again and they can use that purse to put all their stuff in and still have all the other things that they needed. So I mean, every single time I look on my website, I always say, I know a lot of people will say, that's a lot of stuff for a purse, though. Like, I'm like, yeah, but if you think about it, toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant, shampoo, all of that stuff, you have it in your cabinet. They don't. This is something that they need for their daily, everyday feeling good type of, life, right? So the most important, I think, for anybody besides that note of inspiration is that every purse be brand new. And I say that to say that these women have already been beaten down and used and abused. There is no way on God's green earth that I would ever give them a used purse. And I have received some in the past, and I gladly donate them then to Goodwill and put all of the content into a new purse. There will never be a time that we will give somebody a used purse ever.
That's so important. It really is a beacon of hope and love to these women, and it's just really incredible what you've done. So I know that it's grown a lot since you first started it. Yeah. How do you collect the purses, or how do the purses come together, and then how are they distributed?
So there's multiple ways. A lot of people will gather, like their employee resource groups will have a big event at their, place of employment. They will bring their purses and their toiletries. They'll stuff the purses, have a purse party at work, and write their notes of inspiration. And then what I do is I will have the local shelter that they decide to give it to come to their event and speak. on behalf of the shelter and tell them what they do, why they do it, how they do it, when they do it, where they do it, and let them know how important it is to these women, and they take them with them. So once in a while, we will drop them off at a shelter. If we have somebody drop them to us, we will drop them at the shelter. But majority of the time, the idea is to help the people who are donating the purses to hear specifically from the shelters. Because hearing it from me, I feel like it doesn't do it justice. It's the people behind the scenes that are working there and help these women on a day-to-day to hear the stories of what this purse means to these women, how it affects them when they're given this purse, what the reactions are. All of that comes from them. It can't come from me and sound just as great. So for me, I feel as though the more I can get the shelters involved, the more donations that I get them, because people really love the fact that, they're having the shelter come there and tell their story versus me doing it.
And then you also have angel ambassadors. Tell me about angel ambassadors around the world.
Oh my gosh. So angel ambassadors are they are just the absolute best. We have the most incredible angel ambassadors. And the way that came about was when we first started having women, have parties at their home, kind of like a Tupperware party, but it was a, purse party, or having Girl Scout troops, put together a collection, sororities, different people. I thought, these women are like angels, like they are our ambassadors. I said, they need to have a title, like they're going to be angel ambassadors. And so we would mail out all these T-shirts that say #LovePurse on it, and they would wear them and they would collect their purses and have their parties. And we just started having such a huge amount of women that wanted to help. And I'll tell you what, our local police department, our sheriff's departments, our clerk of the circuit court, you name it, senators, state representatives, they have all jumped in full force and have hosted events at their places of business. And so, I have a dear friend who works with FEMA, and she was able to, when the whole thing happened in Ukraine, take a bunch of purses with her at no cost to me and ship them with all of her shipments that were going from FEMA to Ukraine, to Turkey, took them with her and then distributed them at the place that she was assigned to. I have a cousin in San Antonio, and she hosted, event there. Canada, Florida, Ohio. It's just been, people have just reached out and said, I would love to do this in my town, in my city. What do I need to do? And so I, just send them, here's a little cheat sheet. Here's what you do. Tell me your T-shirt size. We'll send you out a T-shirt. What we ask is that you make sure you take plenty of photos, that you post it on social media. We have a whole guideline, and people can do that, anywhere. It doesn't matter where, Mexico, Canada, Ukraine, Turkey, Florida, anywhere. We just want people to know that they're being thought of, that they matter. And these angel ambassadors take it very seriously. I had a 12-year-old young woman. She's our youngest ambassador, and she had a bar mitzvah about a month ago, and she chose Love Purse as her, mission. And so she gathered with her girlfriends, and they just collected all of these toiletries, feminine hygiene products and things, and then brought them to my house and said, I wanted to do this for you because this was what I chose for my bar mitzvah, and my mom said it was okay. So she's on my website as our youngest angel ambassador. She's 12 years old.
That is so beautiful. And we can learn so much from kids. And I'm always so inspired by those stories where I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. Here are these kids that are using these opportunities, using their birthdays, using their bar mitzvah, whatever it is, to raise awareness and to do good through their lives. And I love so much that we can all do something, right? If you're in a book club, if you're in a Bible study, if you have a work group that you can pull together, that we can all do something to really support the work that you're doing. And the need is so great. I know that we keep saying that, but the need is so great in every single person's community. And this is such a simple thing that can make such a huge impact.
Yeah. And, I mean, I look at this as just really, this is something that is so simple and yet so profound. I mean, it's not as though you can say, oh, yeah, well, by next year, there won't be any need for these purses. It's unfortunate, but there's going to be a need probably for a very long time. It's just, I have two ladies who had come up to me recently about a month ago and said, I have a great idea. I'm a nurse. I work at a hospital, and we have women who cannot afford, that are going through cancer treatment, who cannot afford, when they go through chemotherapy, to get the lotions and deodorants and things that they need that are specialized, because they can't their body cannot take regular deodorants or things like that, and they're very expensive. We want to make a love purse for these women. And I thought, what a fabulous idea. And so we started helping the women in the cancer treatment centers. And then another woman came up and said, with all the violence that's taking place in Chicago, we would love to be able to give the moms who have lost someone to gun violence a purse with some special little things in there, whether it's lotions or incense or prayer cards or journals or whatever, something for them to be able to know that we're thinking of them, but also to take their mind off it for just a moment and just sit in peace and maybe write in the journal about what they're feeling and things. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that. So it has evolved from just women in shelters to now, moms who have lost somebody to violence and women who are going through cancer treatment. And a love purse is a love purse. It doesn't matter whoever the woman is that needs it. That's where I want it to go to.
One of my friends always talks about how we're sitting in the suck. She calls it sitting in the suck when you're going through something difficult. Like, hey, I'm sitting in the suck with you. And that's the visual that I'm getting even from the love purses. It's just to have people read this little note and say, hey, I'm in it with you, whether you're going through cancer treatment, whether you're in a shelter, whatever is going on. It's building community. It's building this sisterhood in a way that it's saying, hey, I see you and I know you're going through something difficult, but you're going to get through this. And here's a purse. Here's your warrior bag to walk through. Yeah. And we're going to be walking with you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can't even explain to you the feelings that I get every time I get a call or an email or something from somebody saying, I want to help you. Like, I love this, or just random. Like yesterday, I got 2 donations, one for 100, another one for 250. And I'm total strangers, and I immediately will thank them right away and say, this is going to buy 5 purses. This is going to buy 2 purses. Do you have a special note you want me to add? Just tell me what you want me to write. I'll write the note and put it in there. Because it's that kind of kindness and certainly that kind of, just thoughtfulness of people that see it somewhere. And I had a woman yesterday, I was at a meeting yesterday, and I introduced myself because I work for Comcast. And I said, I do external affairs. I'm with the community investment team with Comcast. Nice to meet you all. And I sat down. And before I sat down, the woman behind me yelled, and love purse. And I just chuckled because I don't do that during work time. And this was, during a work event. So I never say about love purse because it's 2 different things. And so I just chuckled and sat down. And afterwards, I went and introduced myself to her because I didn't know who she was. And she said, oh my God, she goes, you're the love purse lady. And she goes, I love what you're doing. And I was just like, oh my God, that was so funny of you. I said, I heard you behind me. And you just said, I love purse. And a few people that know me knew about love purse, but it was just really funny to hear that out of the blue because I didn't even know who she was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you can't get away from it. Everybody knows who you are and everybody knows love purse. And I'm excited to share love purse with this community too. And I know that the One Girl Revolution community is going to be so excited to hear from you. Watch One Girl Revolution's Emmy-nominated short documentary, The Girl Inside, on our YouTube channel or at onegirlrevolution.com. The Girl Inside features a poignant look at the stories of incarcerated women within Cook County Jail and a life-changing academic course taught by Dr. Laura Biaggi called Storytelling as a Healing Art. This short documentary reunites Dr. Biaggi with 5 of her former students for a special one-day course on the transformative power of our stories and our voices. and what is revealed is the girl inside. Watch the Emmy-nominated short documentary The Girl Inside today on YouTube or at onegirlrevolution.com. So Maria, I know that there are so many stories. You've only been around for a couple of years. It's been, a short time, but I know that you've had so much jam-packed into the past couple of years. But is there a story or two that you could share the impact? Maybe it's a woman that was helped through Love Purse or something that was just really profound that kind of touched your heart in a special way?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, if I can say it without crying. Because I met a woman last year who she was at one of the events for an organization of a dear friend of mine called Breaking the Silence. And it is for, women who are abused. And I had brought 50 purses with me for the 50 women that they were going to honor that evening. And one of the women came up to me and said, can I talk to you for a moment? And I said, sure. And without helping to, I couldn't help but look at her, and she was very disfigured. And she said, I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate so much what you're doing. And I don't even understand like how you find the time, because I understand you work full time and you're doing this. And, she was very, very sweet. And again, couldn't help but look at her. And she said, I know I'm really ugly. And I said, oh, I said, don't say that. And then she said, but I have some incredible doctors that are working to put my face back together. And I said, well, I'm glad to hear that. And she said, my husband had beaten me so bad because I came home 15 minutes late. And, he beat me and he dragged me through the street and was pounding my face into the sidewalk and left me for dead. And I pretended to be dead because my children were witnessing this and they were screaming and crying. And she said, your note, when I read your note in my purse, she just said, I can't believe that somebody would care enough to do something like that. So, it's that kind of stuff. I'm like, geez, Louise, like, first of all, this is supposed to be a person who loves you, right? But when I get stories like that and I hear the impact, I'm like, holy cow, like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this. I know it. But, I just think to myself, there's a reason why I was put into this situation, into this mission. And it's really to make sure that women who don't have a voice, that the voiceless people out there have somebody who cares about them, that they know they're loved. So sorry. Her story always gets to me because she was the most incredible, most positive young woman. And I always pray for her because I always say, oh gosh, let Maricela know that people love her and that she will one day again feel beautiful. Yeah.
Women are the most, I'm getting choked up, Maria.
I know. It's
what a powerful story. And the work that you're doing, I think, it's so simple in some ways, but it's so profound, like you said before. And it's these little things. And that's what I want to keep drilling into this episode is we can all do something. Maybe we know somebody who's struggling, or maybe we know someone, a woman in our community that's struggling in some way. And we can all do something to make them feel beautiful and make them loved. And even that little note, right? Like that little card. And sometimes we don't have the words, right? And like you are doing so much for these women that you may never meet, right? You're putting the note in the purse, all the things in the purse and sending it off. But I know that, we might not always see the fruits of our labor or the fruits of the things that we're doing, but you also cannot discount the fact that it's having a massive ripple effect. And I know that there's just, you're doing such amazing work. And that's just one of many stories.
It's really incredible when 90% of the time we can't meet these women because it's a very private situation. But for the few times that I have, it's been life-changing because, these women are just so grateful. They are so grateful and so inspired by the note, especially, and that somebody would take the time, buy these items, put it in a purse, and to gift it to them. it's a true gift to them. It's not just, here's a purse. It's just not. It's something so much more than that. So I always, I mean, her story to me is like one of the most incredible because she was still so sweet and so positive and just so grateful, for being alive and being here for her kids. And now she wants to, become a counselor and give back and help other women that were in her situation.
I love those stories. Women are so resilient and strong. We're stronger than we know. And you hate to know of someone going through something as painful and horrific as that. But just to hear her rising above it and with a love purse, and you never know what impact that had.
You said resilient. I have to tell you something. So we manufactured a lipstick last year for our first gala called Resilient Red. And it sold out like hotcakes. But we named it Resilient Red because it is the reason that that lipstick exists is because of the resilient women that we are working and dealing with now. And so on October 5th of this year, we will have our second annual gala once again. And that will be at the Wilder Mansion here in Elmhurst, Illinois. And it will be the Roaring Twenties theme. So flapper dresses are welcome.
That's awesome. I will be sure to promote it as it gets closer when tickets go on sale to encourage people to go and to support your work and continue to support your work. Maria, I know that there's so much work to be done and we can never, I think Love Purse is just going to continue on because there is such a need, like you said, that's going to be consistent, unfortunately, in our world, that we're always going to need the work of Love Purse. But in your dream of dream worlds, where do you hope that Love Purse goes from here in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, one of my goals is to have it in every single state, in the United States. Obviously, there's places all over the world that we can be as well, besides Ukraine and Turkey and Mexico and Canada and, Honduras and Guatemala and things. But here locally, my goal is really to hit all of the states to make sure that we are trying to help women everywhere, not just here in Illinois where I live, but anybody that's listening that they want to start it in their, city, respective town, we're open to it. We're hoping that we will touch the hearts of some people and that they will want to help somehow, some way, because the need is there. And unfortunately, it's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter, rich, poor, black, white, doesn't matter. It's happening. And we don't want that to be the case, that we are not able to help people in every single state. So that's my hope.
Well, I hope that people reach out to you and get involved in the great work that you're doing. And like we said before, if you just have a book club or some other group, Girl Scouts or anything, any group can reach out to you to get involved. What can people do to get involved in the work that you're doing with Love Purse, and how can they support you?
So, obviously go to lovepurse.org. You can see some of the people that we've helped already in terms of shelters and organizations. It gives you the list there of ideas. Like some people will now have started, instead of giving their friends birthday gifts, they're giving them in lieu of a gift, they're giving them a purse to me in their honor. People are using it again with Girl Scout troops, with sororities, with police departments, with, senators, women senators who are having in their districts. There really isn't anything that they can't do. Like you could do a walkathon, you can do, a cooking party and have everybody bring a purse. I mean, there have been some really creative people out here that have said to me, I really want to do this. My daughters are going to be off for the summer. They want to collect, purses and toiletries from our, where we live in the cul-de-sac where we live. How can we do this? And we have links to purses under $20 on Amazon. We have all the toiletries on there. There is no right or wrong way to do this. We just want people to do it.
People can donate. I will be sure to put the link to your website in the show notes and different ways that people can easily get involved in the work that you're doing. What can people do in their own communities? Obviously, you mentioned some of them there, like if their neighborhood, they have a cul-de-sac, get their kids involved, go door to door. What can people do in their own communities to emulate your work?
Well, we have a lot of congregations who have, at their churches started collections. We have women, like you said, have book clubs, and they've had their book club members bring a purse. We have had artists, at where they do their artistry work and things, and people come to visit. We've even had local people here, our restaurants. If you donate $50, to Love Purse, you get $10 off on your meal. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that people have been so creative in doing, and there's really no end to it, which is really funny to me because I didn't realize what a creative bunch of people we had out there. I even had a new friend who I met recently, and she said, "I love this so much. I just had a meeting with some chefs that I know, and I told them they need to do a private home party, for anybody that donates X amount, and they can put their name into a raffle to have you come and cook at their home." So she's already got ideas of how to help. And she, like I said, she's a fairly new friend of mine. So I'm like, okay, that sounds great to me. So there really isn't a wrong way, honestly. I mean, just go on to lovepurse.org and take a look at what we're doing. And if, you can donate $5, $10, whatever you can do, every single penny, none of us are paid. This is all a volunteer, organization. None of us are paid, but every single penny is going toward helping a woman in need.
I can't wait to see where Love Purse goes from here. And like I said, I will put all of the links in the show notes so people can easily get in touch and easily get involved in the work that you're doing. Maria, you are a one girl revolution. You are changing the world every single day through your life. But who's a one girl revolution in your life? Who's a woman or girl that inspires you?
My mother. My mom is 91 years old and probably one of the kindest souls out there. I always say to her, "Mom, literally the gates of heaven are already open, so the day that you arrive you'll be like treated like the queen that you are," because she gives and gives and gives, whether it's the neighbor next door who is sick, or the priest that she knows, she sends them a little check for their birthdays every year and Christmas, and always volunteering her time. Can't do it anymore because unfortunately she's wheelchair bound, but she's still sending checks out. She's still calling to make sure people are okay. Just the acts of kindness. I always told her, I said, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I have, and I will. So, there's always somebody in your life that inspires you, and inspires you in a way that you feel so compelled to try and do the same or even better. And I think at the end of the day, I want my granddaughters and my grandson and, to look at this and think, what can I do? What can I do with the time, talents, and treasures that I have, and figure it out, because there is something. Like I said, the T times threes, we all have them, and we all need to be sharing them worldwide every single day. So I hope somebody that's listening realizes that the T times threes, they all have them.
Maria, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Kindness. To be kind. Doesn't cost you anything. I wrote a book called Kindness, and it's a very thin book that is available on Amazon. All the proceeds do go to Love Purse, but being kind, it absolutely will change somebody's life. Somebody could be having the most horrific day, and all of a sudden you say, "Oh my God, I love that outfit you have on. It looks so beautiful on you." And they feel like, "Oh, thank you." It's so unexpected, or the person behind you might be scrambling for change, and you go, "I got it. I'll take hers. Like I got hers, I'll pay her whatever it is, drink or anything." Those unexpected acts of kindness change people. You may not think it does, but they do. And I think anybody that's listening, if you realize how important it is to be kind and how you feel when somebody has been kind to you, it does matter. Absolutely matters.
Maria, I will be sure to post all the links, including to your books and any way that people want to get in touch with you and follow Love Purse and support Love Purse. I always say that the free and easy way to support any woman or organization that's on this podcast is to just follow them on social media and share it. So at the very least, that's what people can do. But Maria, I am so grateful to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Oh, well, thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure. And sorry I broke down, but I just can't. That is one of the stories that really takes me away all the time. But it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing it. And it made me break down too. And I'm sure everybody else who's listening too. It's such a beautiful story. But thank you so much, Maria. And I look forward to staying in touch with you and Love Purse.
Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number One Girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.